Hello viewers, and welcome again to Discovering Truth, and I am Pastor Forbes from the Gateway, Abiding Word Ministries here in the Gambia. I am excited myself because this long series that started in February is now going to be laid to rest. I promised you that this would take about 4 to 5 months, so we've done February, March, April, May, and now we are in the middle of June. The series, as you know, is entitled The Gambia Getting It Right, and I pray that we've all looked at this and we will keep looking at it because we want to get it right for ourselves, for our children, for the generations to come, for posterity. It's enough to observe that there are many challenges going on in the world now globally that are putting pressure on everything, what we believe. We are being redefined, our gender and our morals and so many things that we have to really get it right so that we can hand the baton to our children. It's not just good to say they're the future leaders, they're the future leaders. The future leaders are watching us. And if what they see is not encouraging, then we would have this sad scenario where we birth our children and we donate them to other countries as labor forces. And yes, they enjoy their lives, but they don't have the home connection. They don't want to come back. They don't want to give back to home because they feel what they give back is going to somebody's pocket because of these 4 words we have been discussing since February. Because of corruption, corrupt practices, corruption as a chronic malignancy, because of religious bigotry, because of ingratitude and anyan and fights and intolerant behavior. People want peace, so they'll just go somewhere where people just live at peace. And yet we are supposed to be the smiling coast. This is a nation that has become home to many people from across the sub-region and other nations. We have different communities that are buying property and estates are growing here. But all that can disappear if people notice that the primary desires for their peace and exhalation, breathing out, is absent. And so we said corruption, we said religious bigotry and intolerance, and then we said jealousy. You don't want to live in a jealous environment. It's toxic. You don't want to be around people who are always resentful and disdaining and hating and being bitter and casting aspersions and envious. You don't want to be like that. You want to be in a place where people are exchanging ideas and people are competing in a healthy way. They are not pulling this one down to put up, but we're all just really working together for the common good. And that's why you find that people want to emigrate to areas like that, where they know in this space, it's not toxic. I can just be myself and I can do what I want to do. And you see that happening around the world. You see places where it's a win-win scenario. That can also be ours, especially, as I keep saying, because of our size. It's our advantage. So we've said corruption, religious bigotry, jealousy, and now finally we have been doing maslahah. Beautiful word, beautiful concept that indicates win-win, public interest, common good, welfare for everybody. But unfortunately, our own has morphed or metamorphosed in the Gambia into what we now call a syndrome. And we said a syndrome is the combination of unique characteristic opinions, mindset, and behavior. And I said that once behavior comes into it, then it's observable. You can tell. You can tell this person has a win-win mindset. This person has a bad behavior. We can say that. It's why parents are picky and choosy on who their children befriend. And they'll say, I like this boy, I like him, so he's welcome to our home. I like that girl. Please let this boy not come to our home again. You parents do that, and people think their parents are bad. They are upset and they are angry and they are old-fashioned. No, because they know that this kind of association and acquaintance can lead astray, their child astray. So we talked about how the Maslahah syndrome is a lose-lose scenario. It's causing us to spiral out of control because it gives the impression and palpably so, that we are living a national life of no accountability, no consequence, no reprisals, no stop. Everybody can just do it. It's like we're on autopilot. We can do anything we like. But the truth about life itself is that life is cause and consequence. So whether we do it now or not, it is a matter of time. It's like a time bomb ticking. The outcome of such a life, either in a family, a community, or in the larger community called the nation, ladies and gentlemen, please listen. The end point of this is self-destruction and implosion. Something will give way. It's not that somebody wants to badmouth our country or I am a prophet of doom. No, it's cause and consequence. We see it around. We don't have to look far when we are looking for examples for these things. We see them. Consequences happen after causes. And you can't say you don't know. We can't say we don't know because all of us have been a part of it. You know, there is a verse in the Bible. Actually, there is a book called the Book of the Judges. It's in the Old Testament. It's after the book called Joshua and before the book called Ruth. In the Book of the Judges, that period is characterized by a particular verse in the Bible I want to read from Judges, the book itself called Judges, like Judges, Magistrates, Judges chapter 21 and verse 25. This is what it says. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Recipe for mayhem, anarchy, chaos, implosion, self-destruction. In those days, there was no king, there was no law, there was no leadership, there was no restraint, there was no vision, there was no direction, there was no statutes, there was no guide on morality. It was situationally ethical. One man's meat is another man's poison. So it says, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Do you want to live in such a society? I don't. I don't think you want to. We will kill each other. When there is no law, when there is no rulership, when there is no guide on behavior and practice, and where there is no accountability, where there is no reprisal, where there are no consequences, where there is no correctional system or even punishing in an exemplary way as a deterrent. Wow. There was a time like that. And in God's goodness, he raised judges for them. And that's what that book is all about. And the judges brought sanity. We don't want to live in such a way in our country because, as I said, things will implode. We have to immediately start applying the brakes and not tokenism brakes. Somebody is jailed because he's the person that was not, in Aku we say dry eye, was not defiant enough to say, Ma te, do your best. No. When we're doing that, we must go the whole 9 yards and the whole 360. But the Maslahah syndrome in the Gambia will at best do tokenism. If 300 have stolen, let's just punish one and actually give him a slap on the wrist. Hey, don't do it again. That shouldn't happen. When the Maslahah syndrome fully matures, ladies and gentlemen, it's a zero, the Gambian one, it's a zero-sum game. It will lead to anarchy, unfortunate dysfunction. So what must we do to arrest this malaise or national malaise? Because we all know it. I can talk about this till December, and so can you. We all know it because it's us. It's our problem. We must now have a zero-tolerant approach to this Gambian ostrich mentality. You know, they say the ostrich has a way of burying its head in the sand. It's like Degu Madara, Gisu Madara, Hamu Madara. I didn't hear anything, or our African Americans will say, I didn't hear nothing, I didn't see nothing, I know nothing. No. And sometimes, I hear sometimes it's called a legal position. I take no action. I see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, know no evil, but the evil will come to you. So we must raise our heads up and look at ourselves in the mirror. We should stop burying our head in the sand, feigning ignorance, lack of knowledge, or even involvement in what is a chronic malignancy. And by the way, it's not them. It is you. It is me. It is us. It is not other people. It is us. All of us put together. We should stop blaming others. It is us. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the best ways of solving any problem, we've been taught, is to acknowledge that it exists. When you acknowledge that a problem exists and how bad it is and maybe its undesirable effects, by doing so, we are told, and rightly so, that we have halved the problem. 50% of it is gone. Because if we feign ignorance, feign lack of knowledge, or we have a laissez-faire, I don't care, it's going to hit us. Sometimes you can see problems rising up. And you can tell people, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. They think you are crying wolf. They think you are a prophet of doom. They think you are jaded. You are exaggerating issues. You are Miss Killjoy, Mr. Killjoy. Next door is a good example. 5 hours drive is a good example. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, it has always been said that only, and excuse the word, only a fool or an unwise person laughs at his neighbor's house on fire. Because that fire may just spiral and hit you. It means when things happen, consequences are not known. So rather they do not happen, or when they happen, we nip them in the bud with everything that we can do. So once we acknowledge that the problem exists and it is our problem, we take total ownership of it, from leadership to followership, and especially leadership, not exonerating followership, because leadership comes from followership. Leadership is just a microcosm, probably, of the mindset and the behavior of followership. Because leadership don't fall from the sky. Leadership is representative expectation and aspiration voted into power with the indelible ink on our finger or the ballot. So let's acknowledge it's there. We know it's there. Let's not just talk about it. Let's start doing something about it. Let's be truthful and be honest in our desire for change. There's no transformation that is sweet. There's no difficulty that is sweet. I've said this before, and sometimes I know it doesn't sound well for our teenagers. When a teenager is metamorphosing in their puberty years into a fine gentleman or a fine lady, sometimes you look at that child and, you know, the pimples on the face, and it's like something has gone wrong. It's like, is this a child I gave birth to? What happened? But it's just for a while. And then the beauty blooms. And all of us have become who we have become. But it's necessary we pass through that stage. So let's be honest and be truthful in our desire for change, no matter how difficult it is. Let us cultivate a true sense of national pride and national patriotism. Ladies and gentlemen, patriotism is not driving your Elantra car, driving an X5, driving a Peugeot 308 or whatever, and throwing shawarma out of the window. Here we are all waiting for a triple lane highway on either side of the road. Again, I say, if we carry this lifestyle on those lanes, what's going to happen? or try to beat the traffic light or go the wrong way on the overpass. We have to have a sense of national pride and patriotism. That's what we see in other countries, largely so. Yes, every country has its exceptions. But let our country's exceptions not be the rule. Then people are confused. Let the rule be the rule. And let the exception be dealt with as an exception. Let's have a willingness to put sentiments and affiliations like tribal, religious affiliations aside and take the bull by the horn. If we're going to handle this Maslahah syndrome, remember it's a syndrome. Something that was an otherwise brilliant idea, great intent for public welfare, we have stretched it to a point where it's a sickness. It's a chronic malignancy in our country. Anybody does anything, nothing happens. As I said last week, we all know as Gambians, things circulate on social media. So you heard the audio, I heard the audio, where somebody was cataloging things that have happened in just a few short years, not 30 years, things that have happened 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And there seems to be no reprisal, no accountability, no answers. And for crying out loud, press releases are not an answer. Verbosely written are not an answer. They are not the solution. Action is the answer. You know, in the Bible, it says, faith without works is dead. Tell me you have faith, but show me your faith by your actions. The actions really tell me that you have the faith that you believe in. So we must have this willingness to put away sentiments and affiliations of all types away. That will help us. It will kill corruption. It will kill the religious bigotry. We must have systems and structures that are implemented. People don't want intentions. People want implementation. People say, oh, it was in the pipeline. Nobody sees what is in the pipeline. We want to see action. We want to see outcomes, because the outcomes will tell us how seriously we take something, and people will begin to recalibrate their behavior that, look, if you do this, there's that. I spoke a week or two ago about the late Kumba, the policeman at Denton Bridge. He's gone, but we talk about him. No Gambian of my age, almost 60 and down, can say we don't know about Kumba. Whether your car was from State House, minister, permanent secretary, girlfriend, sugar daddy, he will pack you if he had to pack you. That is the kind of spirit. Nationalism. You couldn't bribe him, we are told. He had nothing to lose. He loved country and did his job. I salute his memory, and I'm sure we do. Systems and structures that are implemented, not mere rhetoric and intention. Let us plug the holes. Sometimes it's decent remuneration. What is minimum wage in the Gambia? Do we have fair and equitable reward systems, training systems, refresher courses, things that will help people bring in this national pride? What about our accountability systems? Do we have measured and commensurate punitive measures as deterrents? And as I said earlier, not slaps on the wrist. Somebody steals $1 billion and it is proven, but they are sentenced to a fine of $30. Do we do that? And I'm sure you know I don't mean the figures. I'm talking about how commensurate it is. What about freedom of information and access to information? When we do these things, we demystify the opaque systems that we have, because it's in these opaque systems, deliberate opaque systems, that we hide, and then the maslahah just continues. We just cushion it, iron it out, at best palliative measures. No. The ostrich must take its head out of the sand and bring the elephant in the room and look at things squarely. We need whistleblowers and maybe even fast-track court systems, small-scale systems, something that will start again, kick the national pride back into activity. We must do things that send warning signals of a zero tolerance, especially to those who know better. In the Bible again, it says, to whom much is given, much more is required. So what you will punish the gardener for, the house help for, should be, who knows, 50 times less than what you punish the minister for, the MD for, the one in authority who ought to know better and must do better. If not, all our talk about Singapore, Malaysia, Rwanda, we should forget it, because those places, that happens there. I suggest we must have a robust implementation of the rule of law without fear of favor, ill will, and affection. And I know when we swear people in, they say it, it's almost like parroted, without fear or favor, ill will, or affection, so help me God. And while we are doing it, we know exactly that we are going to do the opposite. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are going to pick ourselves up and start an upward spiral out of this downward hole of this syndrome and change our behavior, we will have to implement robustly the law and have impartial, truly reliable and trustworthy judiciary and police systems. Because those are probably the implementation systems. We also need a fair and reasonable tax regime. You know, if people are treated fairly, they'll pay their taxes. But if somebody knows that they are paying, but somebody else is not paying, and nothing comes out of it, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be self-destruct, implosion, anarchy. It's a matter of time. Viring. I'll just use the word and leave it. Viring. We seem to be experts in viring money. I'll leave it that. We need to consider electronic governance, transparency in areas like procurement, promotions, budgeting, even regional distribution of resources. What about the right people for the right positions? If we're going to get it right as a nation and curb all these four things, particularly this last one, we need all this. It's a win-win, ladies and gentlemen, the day we start having properly constituted and functioning national assemblies, especially when we're choosing nominated members. If we love the country, we won't just use it for our selfish end, but for the common good, for the public interest, and for legacy. Religious leaders, my own people, I've said it before, when religious leaders keep flocking to the State House and receiving brown envelopes, that is bad news. It means the voice of the conscience of the nation itself has been dented. Ladies and gentlemen, my Bible teaches me proudly that it's the king that goes to the prophets and the priests, and not the priest and the prophets going to the king. Once we do that, we lose our neutrality, we lose our independence, and when we are called to bring justice into issues that need correction, we ourselves will come with maslahah. Bailen ko, banjul sala cabinet la, ñun yeb bena lañ. Bailen ko rek, bailen ko ndogale yala la, bailen ko ak yala. Una lefam, God know what they do, una lefam. We all now one, the country is small. If you touch here, you touch all man. We cannot move forward with that. It's a syndrome. It's a behavior that needs to be changed. And by the way, we are not the only small country in the world. So we can't use that. All man know all man. Sala cabinet. No. We have to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, the roles of institutions like GCCI, GAIPA, etc. with respect to investors must be strengthened. So we don't have investors flocking to the office of the president for decisions to be made. Then why have these systems? We make the systems, we destroy them with our own hands. And there is no accountability. It's maslahah. If we learn to inculcate from the get-go what patriotic and national service is all about to our children, bringing value systems. I grew up with a value system. And the people of my ethnic group will tell you that the first day you had a job or you were promoted or you are going, your parents will sit you down and tell you in Aku, government couple, not to you yon. Decide where they put you, sit on there, waiting not to you yon, not touch them. In fact, I was saying it to somebody, interestingly, who was not an Aku, but understood Aku was one of, and finished the statement for me. Those are value systems. And they are not the exclusive preserve of the Akus. They should not be. There should be a Gambian mindset. What is not yours is not yours, will never be yours, except it's given to you. But walk with dignity. So the first day I had a job in 1981, going to work at the MRC, my parents told me that. Everybody hears that. Waiting not to you, not to you. Lo hamne do sabos, we call her, leave it and go home in integrity and dignity. The fear of God, self-control, self-government, contentment, humility, thinking of others and allowing space for others, not just me, mine, and mine alone. If we can do that, ladies and gentlemen, we will fix this country. We will all agree that things can be better. Things have gone far, but maybe not irredeemable. Let's shoot a few warning shots, a few exemplary shots, and we will all begin to realign ourselves, reset ourselves for the common good, so that we leave a good nation for our children. What was supposed to be a win-win interest, manner of life that unfortunately has become a syndrome, can be turned around. Let us arise together, Gambians. Let us fight this malaise and corruption and religious bigotry and anyan jealousy and take back our nation deliberately and intentionally from the path of insatiable and inordinate booga greedy ways into the direction of decency, sanity, national pride, and prosperity. And as I end this series, I say, yes, we can. And yes, we must. Let's do it for God, for country, for our children, for the generations. Until I come your way next week with a new series I'm starting on the Gambian work ethic and communication styles. This is Pastor Forbes saying, may God keep us. And may we all together work on this thing, because it's our problem, not their problem. It's our problem, all of us together. When I look at the mirror, I see me. I don't see anybody else. It's all of us together. And may God help us turn it around. God bless us and God keep us. Have a good day. This